Get ready for some hard-hitting podcast action as you're tuned in to the Slam Session.
Welcome, everyone, to Section 4 of the Slam Sessions. I'm Albert Albanese, and once again, if you want to find out anything about the Slam Sessions podcast network, go to @TheSlamSessions on Twitter. Now, we got a great show for you today. We're going to have a little bit of a new kind of a twist on things. We had a lot of major developments over the past couple of weeks, so let's get right into it. First and foremost, let's get into it, the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Once again, I told you a couple of weeks ago this is my favorite pay-per-view of the year, and in my opinion, this year it did not disappoint at all. The greatest thing that we had going into the Royal Rumble this year is we had absolutely no idea who was going to win the entire Royal Rumble match. I think everybody was a little bit more surprised than we thought with the victor, Randy Orton. Also, on top of that, we had the Wyatt family implode in the Royal Rumble match. We had title changes galore. There's been a lot going on between the Royal Rumble, Monday Night Raw, Tuesday Night SmackDown Live, and what the future of the WWE is going to look like as it comes up to the biggest pinnacle, WrestleMania. Now, let's start off with and also, actually, before I get into everything, we're also going to talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame. I didn't get to mention, give my thoughts on Kurt Angle being inducted, who the other people will, that are rumored to be into the Hall of Fame. So we'll get into that a little bit, and we're going to get into some Seth Rollins news, some unfortunate Seth Rollins news, and some big news about some debuts on Monday Night Raw. So let's start with the Royal Rumble. Pre-show, I'm not going to cover every match because every match doesn't need to be covered. You guys watched it. Pre-show, I got to say, I'm really glad to see Gallows and Anderson finally get the World Tag titles. The Raw Tag titles. Well-deserved for these guys. They came over from Japan with a lot of hype, and injuries kind of knocked them around a little bit. Their angle was kind of cut short with the injury to Finn Balor. And now we get to see the club for what they are. And they are the new tag team champions. I think that, they'll get through Sheamus and Cesaro, and then we'll get to see them what it looks like to walk into WrestleMania as the WWE Raw Tag Team Champions. So big ups to them. On the main show, it was a lot of Monday Night Raw and only a little bit of SmackDown. The Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens match was fantastic. I love the idea that it was a no disqualification match because it set apart the world title matches on both shows. We had Kevin Owens going full bore, going absolutely crazy. Roman Reigns doing his thing, using tables, using chairs, fighting outside, brawling all over the place. The match looked phenomenal. I mean, the chair spot that Kevin Owens falling back into that chair tower was sick. The frog splash from the top rope to the floor was unreal. Roman Reigns, using his high-powered offense to fend off Kevin Owens. It looked like, he was going to spear him through a table. We were going to have Roman Reigns walk into WrestleMania as our WWE Universal Champion. Lo and behold, Braun Strowman says he hates Roman Reigns, pulls him out of the ring, beats the crap out of him, running power slams him through a table in the corner. Kevin Owens gets a tainted victory. Chris Jericho gets to come down from the rafters looking like a sexy piñata. I'm sorry, a very sexy piñata. And Kevin Owens retains, which is something not a lot of people thought was going to happen. I think everybody really thought that Roman was going to win the title and go into WrestleMania as champion, so people were kind of looking towards that, and that's not what the WWE gave you. WWE, despite what everybody can say about the way they feel about them, has been really unpredictable lately, and that's one thing I really do like about the direction that the WWE is going into WrestleMania. On the other hand, the WWE Championship match between AJ Styles and John Cena. Now, a few weeks ago, I reviewed the Kenny Omega match that he had with Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. I said it was maybe somewhere in the vicinity of like a 4.5, 4 3/4 stars, maybe a 5 upon a second viewing. Well, I can tell you this right now, and this could be controversial. This has been some stuff that's been said over the past couple of days after this match. I think this match is better. AJ Styles versus John Cena tore the house down at WrestleMania. These two guys went out there and put everything on the line, and in a complete contrast to the big brawl that we had between Reigns and Owens, we got a technical wrestling masterpiece between John Cena and AJ Styles. First and foremost, I need for one argument to stop, and I need that argument to be that John Cena gets carried in every one of his matches. That's total BS. This guy went on that U.S. title run, and he was having matches with guys who maybe were a little bit better than him in the ring, but he held his own with each and every one of them. It takes two to tango, and AJ Styles and John Cena put on the match of a lifetime. There's a whole bunch of people out there that really always try to discredit John Cena. The whole thing with after he changed his gimmick, the hustle, loyalty, and respect deal. The idea that he was, the WWE's, top guy and, quote unquote, buried everybody he works with. But, I really have to respect John Cena tying the world title record with Ric Flair. I think Cena deserves it. He's a workhorse. He's a lifer. He doesn't stop. And he put on one of the best matches I've ever seen with AJ Styles. And AJ Styles, for every person who was out there and were talking crap about the fact that Cena won the match, I even saw the word buried thrown out there a few times. If it takes an Avalanche AA and 3 AAs, 2 of them in a row, to put away a 200-pound guy, that guy is over as F. AJ Styles looked like $1 million in that match. He is by and far one of the top guys that the WWE has. He's booked to be that way. No one else gets that treatment against John Cena. AJ Styles was the guy who got that treatment against John Cena. This was absolutely a fantastic match, and kudos to Cena and Styles for putting on a clinic, one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. Quite possibly could be the greatest match in John Cena's career. Possibly one of the greatest matches in the WWE history for at least the past 10 years, maybe of all time. All I know is that if you have not seen John Cena versus AJ Styles, get a network subscription, get on the computer, get on there and watch AJ Styles wrestle John Cena for the World Heavyweight Championship. It will blow your mind. Now, we move on to the Royal Rumble match. We had a solid Royal Rumble match this year. I know a lot of people complained that there were a lack of surprise entrants, lack of NXT, lack of, old school wrestlers coming in. And you know what? That's one of those things I do like about the Royal Rumble. But this year, I think this was perfect. I think there were guys that are on the roster that got left out of the Royal Rumble that deserved to be in it because it's that whole idea of 30 men all vying for a chance. And they all deserve to be what really essentially means 30 men are the number one contender for a World Heavyweight Championship shot. We didn't see American Alpha in this match. The Usos weren't in it. Titus O'Neil. There's Heath Slater, Rhino. A lot of, decent names on both of these rosters got left out of the Royal Rumble this year. And I like the idea of what they did. Kane wasn't in the Royal Rumble this year. So I like the idea that they kept it with, kind of this, the low-key guys in the ring, the core guys, the WWE superstars of now. Instead of looking towards, towards the future and looking back at the past, they went with the present this year, with the exception, of course, of, Goldberg. But, that's one big guy who was in there from the past that I think could have, well, we'll get into that. I love the booking of the Royal Rumble. Braun Strowman looks like an absolute beast. Eliminates 7 guys, dominates the ring. Chris Jericho is the only guy who's able to outlast Strowman because he spends half the time outside the ring. Strowman then gets triple teamed. Corbin gets the big elimination, but Strowman looks strong throughout that entire Royal Rumble. Didn't hurt him a bit to get eliminated. 7 eliminations really made him look like a beast. Braun Strowman looked great. Baron Corbin looked awesome too, stood up to guys like The Undertaker. Really makes me want to see a little bit more seasoned Baron Corbin go after a guy like The Undertaker. Not maybe at a WrestleMania, maybe at a SummerSlam, but it would be a really interesting match, really put Braun Strowman, I'm going to keep doing this, Baron Corbin on another level. Baron Corbin had a great showing. The Miz had a great showing. And of course, Chris Jericho, an hour and 61 minutes altogether, an hour and a minute. Jericho almost broke Rey Mysterio's record for longevity in the Royal Rumble. He's broken the all-time longevity record in the Royal Rumble in there almost, I think, over 5 hours. And big ups to Chris Jericho, my favorite wrestler of all time. I loved seeing Jericho in there. I think he did a great job. Once again, comes in, puts on a great show, performs admirably. In the Final Four, Jericho deserved it. So the controversy. Oh, boy. I feel like I go through this every week. The controversy again this year was the number 30 entrant was Roman Reigns. Now, if you know where the WWE is going right now, and you know that the WWE is going in a direction where it looks like Roman Reigns is going to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania, how could you discredit WWE for making Roman Reigns the 30th entrant in the Royal Rumble? We'll start off with the, we'll backtrack a little bit. We got the Undertaker, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar showdown. Goldberg dominates Brock Lesnar again. Kicks his ass, throws him out. Undertaker gets the elimination on Goldberg. So it was a really big, interesting, deal. These guys all didn't last long in the Royal Rumble. I think the Undertaker cumulatively might have actually lasted longer than everybody else out of those three in the Royal Rumble this year. Wyatt family implodes. We get a big discus lariat from Luke Harper to Bray Wyatt. We get Orton and Wyatt double teaming on Harper. We get Orton Wyatt sticking together. And, then we get to the end of the match. Roman Reigns loads up and dumps The Undertaker out over the top rope. Undertaker says, "We're not done." Big moment right there. We know where we're going with this. Now, for any person who was in the arena who really honestly believed that Roman Reigns had a shot to win the Royal Rumble at that point, seeing him dump out The Undertaker, you guys have, how do you not see where they're going with this? And then, of course, what happens? The boos come. I am so sick of people booing Roman Reigns. I'm to a point where I almost don't even want to watch wrestling anymore because you fans really honestly believe that by you booing Roman Reigns is going to change anybody's mind. It hasn't happened yet. Deal with it. It never happened with Cena. Deal with it. Reigns is going to wind up coming back just like John Cena and earning everybody's respect, and they're going to go back to these couple of years where Roman Reigns was on top and think, oh man, remember when we used to hate Roman Reigns? Like most people are doing with John Cena. Of course, there's that vocal minority who still doesn't like John Cena, but they're out of their minds because the guy puts on the best matches out of anybody, and if anybody deserves 16 world title reigns, it's John Cena. He's carried the company for years on his back. Now, it looks like Roman Reigns is going to turn heel. That's the only way I see it. Roman Reigns dumps The Undertaker out. He's going to turn heel. He's going to be the heel in this program. He wants to hunt down The Undertaker. They're going to probably try to book it 50-50. He's going to wind up being more badass, look like a heel, talk like a heel, sound like a heel, essentially be a heel without the heel moniker being placed on his shoulders. This is a huge opportunity for Roman Reigns to have a great match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He's going to go into WrestleMania. He's going to be booed out of the building against the dead man. But anybody is pretty much going to be booed out of the building against the dead man. I was there at WrestleMania 29 live, and people were booing CM Punk when this was the height of the CM Punk hype train. So, I really feel like this is going to be a good thing for Roman. But, guys, really, stop it. With the boos with Roman Reigns. Stop, hating on the guy. I'm sorry, but the only reason you hate Roman Reigns is because he won a Royal Rumble that you thought Daniel Bryan should have won. I'm sorry, that's it. That booking ruined Roman Reigns for the rest of his career, and he was over as hell before that. So I'm sick and tired of seeing these people go out and boo this guy when they have absolutely no reason to do it. I'm going to try to pull off of this a little bit because I'm really kind of getting sick and tired of talking about this. It's getting gets my blood pressure pumping, gets me hot. And I don't want to be there and be this guy who's always on this show and always, angry with the fans. But you guys got to really look at the big picture and realize what Roman Reigns means to that company, where he's going to be in a few years. He's always going to be at the top. And you can see that a lot of the guys who you like aren't suffering because Roman Reigns is up there. AJ Styles was a world champion. He just had the match of his career. Well, at least, the match of John Cena's career. We had Kevin Owens, heavyweight champion. Sami Zayn, to be vying for the United States Championship. These are guys that the internet wrestling community, people, or you smart marks all anoint as the next guys who should be the guys who should be the focal point of the show, and they are. So what are you complaining about when it comes to what Roman Reigns is doing? Just sit back and deal with it. Watch the show and be a fan instead of being a smark and thinking that you know better than everybody else and how the show should be booked. If you want to book a wrestling show, do yourselves a favor, work your asses off. Go to your local wrestling company. Somewhere in whatever little town you live in, there's a local wrestling company that's probably at the very least a 5-hour drive away. If you're that passionate about booking wrestling shows, go there. Volunteer your time, volunteer your energy, work there, learn the ins and outs and the intricacies of the business. Work your way up, put your resume in, go to college, become a writer, get writing jobs with TV stations, work your way into the WWE, and write for the show. Get your ideas out there. See how easy it is for you to put those ideas into practice and get it over with all the other people that work at that company, because it's not going to be easy, because they have a set way that they want to do things, and it's not going to be the way you're going to want them to be. So instead of trying to predict everything that's going to happen and crap on everything that everybody does within that company, do yourselves a favor and look at it as a fan. Because I'm really tired of hearing everybody boo Roman Reigns out of the building. It's kind of pissing me off, and it's making me the biggest Roman Reigns fan on the planet, to be honest with you. Well, getting back to the big event, Roman Reigns is one of the final 3 guys. He Superman punches Chris Jericho out of the ring. We get Reigns versus the Wyatts, Orton and Bray. Bray goes out. Orton gets the big clothesline and the win. Randy Orton goes to WrestleMania. I know a lot of people were complaining that we're going to see John Cena versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. It's already booked that next week on SmackDown they're facing each other, so we know that's not going to be the main event. Looks like that somebody's going to come out as being a new world champion in the Elimination Chamber. I mean, it really looks like it could be Bray Wyatt. And the one thing that bothered me about the Royal Rumble is I would have rather have seen it be switched, have Bray Wyatt win the Royal Rumble, Randy Orton win the WWE Championship in the Elimination Chamber, and have Wyatt capture the championship from Orton at WrestleMania. This might just mean that they want to give Bray an extended period of time with the championship. So having him win in the Elimination Chamber, win at WrestleMania, and then keep going on as the champion makes Bray a little bit more valuable. And, it gives, it does, but I think Orton, after all this time, he's taking a back seat to everybody, kind of deserves a world title run. I think he deserves, even just a month with the belt. I think he kind of deserves it. I think he's earned it. I think he's, taking a back seat to being a main event guy for a pretty decent amount of time. He deserves the opportunity to present himself as heavyweight champion one more time on SmackDown. So that's my opinion on the Royal Rumble match and on the Royal Rumble pay-per-view as a whole. We're going to get into the Hall of Fame. Kurt Angle, the first inductee into the Hall of Fame this year. And, man, let me tell you something. Nobody deserves it more than Kurt Angle. I have been a Kurt Angle fan for years. I love Kurt. I love what he does. I loved his in-ring style. I loved his skills inside the ring. I loved the way he presented himself. I love his character. Kurt Angle, by and far, is one of the best wrestlers the WWE had. And for 7 years, he proved it. He then leaves. He went to TNA, and he forged a huge career in TNA afterwards. We saw that by and large, WWE cut out the portion of Sting's TNA run. They really can't do that with Kurt Angle. Kurt was there for such a long time and put that company on his back. I think they kind of have to acknowledge them. This is one of those instances where I really do wish that the WWE would have actually purchased TNA. Would have actually been a lot more interesting, to be honest. But, hey, it is what it is. TNA is still doing what they're doing, and they're, I guess in a way they're still going strong. But Kurt Angle being inducted to the Hall of Fame is a huge, huge moment for me as a fan, because I followed and I was a fan of Kurt's career since day one. I also, a little bit, when Kurt Angle won the Olympic gold, I was kind of, getting into Olympic wrestling a little bit, just Olympics in general, really trying to, broaden my horizons when it came to sports. I followed a lot of Kurt Angle in the Olympics and, working his way up there. I watched him win the Olympic gold medal, and seeing that a guy whose career I followed since, before he was even in the WWE, before he was even a professional wrestler, to come into the WWE, to exit, to have a great career in TNA is a huge, it's just a huge, huge deal for me as a fan. And I think it should be a huge deal for a lot of people as a fan. And it's a huge deal for Kurt, because if anybody deserves it, it's Kurt Angle. Now, there are a couple other rumored names that could be going into the Hall of Fame. The biggest one for me is DDP. Not only just for DDP for who he was as a professional wrestler, who he was in this business, for who he is as a person, the accountability crib, revitalizing, the lives of Jake the Snake Roberts and Scott Hall, helping Vader revitalize his life, give him a really good quality of life after he got a diagnosis that he may not have much time to live, trying to get him into better shape, trying to help him, cope with the fact that he, may have a heart disease that may not afford him a full life. DDP is a great human being. He was a fantastic wrestler. Just briefly on his story, just going from being a manager of guys and then all of a sudden being this guy who is, a main eventer. 4-time WCW World Champion, European Champion in WWE. I believe he was a tag team champion in WWE. DDP was a champion everywhere he went, and he was a champion as a person. So I really, really am happy that we're going to get to see DDP in the WWE Hall of Fame. Some of the other names that were rumored, IRS. I mean, it's a cool induction. IRS's Mike Rotundo was a part of the Varsity Club in the NWA. He was a part of the he was a part of a tag team with Barry Windham, and they lost the tag team titles at WrestleMania 1 to Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. I'm pretty sure I'm right there, but they definitely lost their their tag team titles at WrestleMania. Rotundo, IRS was a big deal. He was tag team champion with Ted DiBiase. But he's great. He's really big behind the scenes, and I think that's one of the reasons why he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for all the guys he's helped. The Natural Disasters. These are two guys who, it's for me, I love them or leave them kind of a thing. I'm not big on them being in there. If they are, great. I am still waiting for Demolition to become WWE Hall of Famers. I will not be happy until the Demolition are in the Hall of Fame. I legitimately do not believe that the WWE Hall of Fame should be almost to a point where they shouldn't even be recognized without Demolition in the Hall of Fame, because they are the preeminent tag team in WWE history. The Road Warriors are in there, and they didn't even have that good of a WWE career. I think that the Demolition deserve it. And for the Natural Disasters, who I think had a brief tag team title run, to be inducted before them, even with John Tenta, Earthquake being on top, wrestling Hogan for a long time, Typhoon or Tugboat or the Shockmaster and all the stuff that he's done in the business. I'm not going to say they don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, but I think other tag teams deserve to be in the Hall of Fame before them, most notably Demolition. Ravishing Rick Rude is a guy who I believe deserves to be, excuse me, my voice is cracking, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Rude was a Intercontinental Champion. He beat the Warrior when Warrior was unbeatable. He was a former NWA champion, beat Ric Flair, and in the height of Ric Flair, coming back, and being getting really big after his WWE run. Rick Rude is one of the most underrated wrestlers in the history of wrestling. I think, in my opinion, I think he was every bit as good as some of the other guys that they put up high on top. He's had great matches with Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair. He was in the initial DX run. He was in, he was a world champion in WCW. Great matches with Sting. Rick Rude's pretty much done it all, and to see that he can get his due posthumously into the Hall of Fame is big for me. I really think he belongs there. The female induction looks like it might be Beth Phoenix. If that's the case, it's well deserved. Just thinking a little bit too early. There are a lot of other women who maybe deserve to go in there before Beth Phoenix, but I think we'll eventually get there when it comes to them. I really thought this was going to be the year of Sable. I guess it's not. Maybe it still will be. We'll see what happens when it comes to that. But I thought Beth Phoenix was incredibly talented, carried the women's division for a pretty decent amount of time. Herself, pretty much. Her and Mickie James were the two best women on the roster. She did a great job as the Glamazon. Her tag team, Pin Up Strong with Natalya. I loved Beth Phoenix. I thought she was a fantastic talent. I was really sad to see her retire so early. The other two that are rumored to be in, I think, are two of the most well-deserved guys in the business. First and foremost, we're going to go with William Regal. I don't have to go into in depth about William Regal. We all know that William Regal has been one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He's credited by his peers as being one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He has a great career, starting off in Blackpool, England, wrestling, in carnivals, and then, at the age of 15 to being, one of the top guys at one point in WCW as television champion, tag team champion, always, put out there in wrestling a great match with a lot of different guys. Has great matches with guys like Finlay, Booker T. Was a great tag team specialist for a little while. Regal was an MVP and unsung hero in WCW for a pretty decent amount of time. Came to WWE, had some epic feuds with the guys like Chris Jericho. Regal had a great tag team chemistry with Tajiri. He teamed up with Eugene at the end of his career. If you called on Regal to do something, he could do it, and he was witty. He was hysterical. He was underrated as a comedic wrestler. And now that he's reaching big heights as the on-screen authority on NXT, he's getting his just due by going into the Hall of Fame. He's helped train so many different people. He's helped the careers of so many different guys down at NXT. Regal deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And perhaps the guy who I thought I would actually never get to see be inducted into the Hall of Fame, because I thought that his career was always kind of a step behind a guy whose shadow he seemed to constantly be in, and that's Christian. He's been rumored for the Hall of Fame this year, and man, Christian deserves it every bit as much as Edge did. He's over 10 times the tag team champion, Intercontinental champion, European champion, Cruiserweight champion, WWE champion, World Heavyweight, WWE World Heavyweight champion. Sorry. Two brands at that point. It's always very hard to keep up with those title names. Christian was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. I was a huge Christian fan. I always actually liked him better than I liked Edge. I was, a big Edge fan too. I was glad to see him going into the Hall of Fame when he did. But I think Christian really deserves to be there. He's had great matches, great rivalries. Edge, Jericho, as a part of the Un-Americans tag team, wrestling guys like Hogan. He put on great matches with Del Rio, awesome matches with Randy Orton. Christian's had a great career, and I think he deserves to be enshrined into the Hall of Fame. So those are the rumored names for the Hall of Fame. Of course, Kurt was as a lock. He's been announced. It'd be interesting to see if those guys, eventually do get the nod as Hall of Famers, and it'd be great to see them get inducted the night before WrestleMania, or 2 nights before, I think. So maybe it's 2 or 3 nights actually this year. I think it might be on a Friday this year that they're doing the Hall of Fame ceremony. But it's really good to see them. It would be really good to see these guys get inducted. So that's pretty much it for the Slam Sessions. Of course, I got to give you a match of the week, and I know this is a little bit of a cop-out because it just happened, but some people may not have seen it, and if you have seen it, you want to go back and watch it again. Your match of the week this week, John Cena, AJ Styles, Royal Rumble 2017. The match was phenomenal. I'm going to go back and watch it a second time. I have a standing tradition of watching the Royal Rumble match a second time. Usually I don't watch any of the matches on the card. I just happen to be a big fan of the Royal Rumble match, but this year I'm going to go back and watch AJ Styles wrestle John Cena again for the World Heavyweight Championship. That match was that good. So that's it for Session 4 of the Slam Sessions. As always, follow us at the Slam Sessions on Twitter. Look up, on YouTube to see when we're dropping new episodes. It's going to be a little bit later this week. I'm recording on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday. But support us. Comment. Like. Give me, just support us as much as you guys can. And I appreciate every bit of it. And like I said, if you guys have any suggestions about what you want to hear me talk about, please hit me up on Twitter at the Slam Sessions. Hit me up on the YouTube comment section, and I will read them all. I will try to cover as much as I possibly can for you guys. And with that being said, have a great one. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Slam Sessions. Find us on Twitter at the Slam Sessions. We'll see you next time.